Okay, we are starting the new episode of this essay discussion forum, and this time we are taking an abstract topic. Abstract, by definition, I say that it's an essay in which the topic is given, in which the variables are not definite. एक ऐसा टॉपिक जिसको आप मुख्तलिफ तरीकों से इंटरप्रेट कर सकते हैं और कोई भी इंटरप्रिटेशन जो आप उसकी देते हैं टॉपिक की, जो जिस साइड से भी मर्जी उसको अप्रोच करना चाहें, ऐसे को आपको इस काबिल होना चाहिए कि आप उसको प्रूव कर सकें, अपनी बात को जस्टिफाई कर सकें. So we are going to have two outlines in this, and you will see that both these writers have very different outlines and both are correct. उनकी अपनी अपनी ऐसे है, अपनी अपनी उस ऐसे के merits and demerits अपनी जगह पे हैं. The topic that we have taken today is knowledge employs responsibility. Basically, T.S. Eliot की very famous poem of the last century जिसे कहा गया था The Wasteland, जिसे शुरू में कहा गया था. Now it has completed something like 100 years, and at that time it was called the poem of the century. The poem of the century. It is in 5 parts. The Wasteland, or yaqinan, it has proved to be the poem of the century, and it has inspired millions of people all over the world in all those during the last century. उसके अंदर एक लाइन है, after such knowledge, what forgiveness? After such knowledge, आपको जब एक चीज का पता चल गया है, तो अब माफी किस चीज की है? Knowledge implies responsibility. इस टॉपिक के तौर पे मैंने इसे मॉक्स में दिया और हमने इसको कुछ स्टूडेंट्स ने ख्वाहिश जाहिर की कि we want to write an abstract outline of this. So first of all, it would be Osama Saber, starting with the first outline. Next on screen would be Osama's outline. I hope you're going to enjoy this session. Osama, it's over to you. Bismillah.
Thank you, sir. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As you know, the topic of today's discussion is the knowledge implies responsibility. Knowledge is power, as we all know. Very common quotation: the knowledge is power, but with power comes great responsibility. And over the years, throughout life, a man continues, to learn things, many things, through his experiences that augment his knowledge. They broaden his knowledge. But when you know something, when you know a certain situation, anything that a common man doesn't know, or you are in a particular criteria or in any situation environment that you know something that other may not know, then it demands something in return. And that is actually the responsibility of doing a particular action, saying a word, stopping someone, or de-escalating a situation when a certain situation demands it. In my crunch paragraph and your overview paragraph, I've tried to explain why knowledge leads to, or how knowledge leads to responsibility. Over the years, scientists and philosophers, we know they completely devoted their lives for humanity. They completely devoted their lives for the welfare of the humanity. And why they did so? Why they did so many years, the research and discoveries? Because if they didn't have the burden of knowledge, what I call it, that when you know something, there is a burden on you that it demands action from you. It demands action from them to do something about it for the good, or maybe for the betterment of the society, and even in ethical capacity to stop something. I have divided this the body paragraphs into 4 different headings, and I've started with individuals. How individuals had those who are learned have more responsibility than the ones who haven't. I started with a learned man is responsible for his own good. First of all, if a person has knowledge and he knows certain things that a common man doesn't know, or even he's in a situation, he can decide better for himself first in order to have a better life, in order to prospect his good future. Secondly, from his own good, he has to think and be responsible of the welfare of his fellow beings in the community that he is living, in the society that he is living, in the circle and the sphere of life he is in. He has to be responsible because he has certain knowledge or certain information uh, that others may not have. So with this he has the responsibility to work for the welfare and to try to guide them with this knowledge that he has. And all the Enlightenment period philosophers, Rousseau, Locke, uh, and Hobbes and many others of that era, which saw change in the British system, they all work for this, and they wanted to bring change in the lives of it, because uh, they were worried about the British culture of monarchy having influence over the masses. So they wanted a change, and because why they wanted that, because they knew certain things, they knew they had no knowledge, and that knowledge gave them the burden to obviously work for the changes and do some action. And then in the C part, a learned man is responsible for the state's benefits. Uh, and when there is a person who has knowledge, who has certain information, he knows certain things, he's educated, he always works, and he has responsibility for the state's well-being, and he wanted, or he has to live the life that benefits the state in which he or she is living. And Rousseau, another philosopher, he wanted the French leaders to adopt British government's principle for successful administration. He was inspired by the British Enlightenment period, and he wanted to replicate that. Why? Why? Because he knew that if, in order to have a successful future for the French Republic, he has to convince his people, because he knows certain things, how the state works and how the society works, and how British government has changed its policies, and they are now going for a better future. And he wanted that in his state as well. Then the responsibilities of educated families, another area of discussion. Educated parents are, they are responsible for the successful future of their children. I mean, if the parents are educated and they are unable to narration, and they are unable to make the future of their children successful, then I think that is not the purpose that they had. The knowledge that they have, that is of no use if they are not going to transcend it down to the generations. That is also a part of responsible parenting. Then after responsible parenting, they have the responsibility to break the taboos and myths, which are over the years have been common in the society, the stereotypes, breaking them, and giving the space for more rational argument. And that is what the purpose of their knowledge is, and the responsibility they have. And from breaking the taboos and myths, then there comes the responsibility of community building, building societies, discussion forums for knowledge exchange, because knowledge, if confined, then it gets rotten over the years, and it just becomes a piece of information, just from the books and quotations. It is merely dead if it is not transformed, or it is not exchanged with each other. And then how knowledge demands the responsibility at societal levels, another area. In this, knowledge is what pumps nation building into masses and through intellectuals. Intellectuals are actually the people who actually pump this phenomenon of nation building into masses. Because if you see the ordinary masses, and if they don't know, actually, if they don't have knowledge, they don't know the importance of nation building, they don't know the importance of their role that they have to play. Over the years, China, we saw, having the largest population, they through their intellectual circles of Communist Party, they introduced this narrative of nation building in each and every individual. And we know what their work ethics is now, from comparing it since 1949. They're way ahead of time now. Then comes the responsibility of teachers to produce good students, building think tanks and brains for innovation and research. This is also the purpose of the knowledge that the teacher have. And the teacher is actually the one that builds the backbone of the society through the think tanks and brains, and that leads to innovation and research. Then it's the responsibility of civil servants. that is more than that of an ordinary person. Obviously, they are in a position and they have the capacity to bring change, and with the knowledge and information they had, and obviously for the people's good. And that is why they have a bit of extra responsibility, and that comes obviously because of the knowledge they have. Then comes the area of knowledge and responsible politics. Um, the first part is about knowledge and responsibility of the legislature, making and amending laws with good in mind. And therein, the legislatures and the legislature members are in a position that how well they are capable of making changes for the masses or the constituencies they are actually responsible for. And by that, they actually are responsible for making good laws. We actually don't know the difference of why they are in the legislature. We all think that they will get funds and they will make roads and infrastructure, but the most important responsibility for the knowledge they have is it is about making and amending laws with good in mind, which they have forgotten. Then the next point is that learned senators are statesmen. So if you can scroll down, learned senators are statesmen, and they are actually a formidable wall in front of anything. If you see, there is a very big difference between a senator and a member of national parliament of the lower house. The senator is actually a trained statesman, and he over the years have adopted this role of being the last and final wall of anything that harms a nation. And that is because the knowledge over the years he has been exposed to, the information he has been exposed to, and that is the responsibility that is in his hands to stop or avoid any law from passing or any policy that the government is going to implement, to keep checks on the legislature and the executive in order to have a formidable wall against the harms that are going to affect the nation. And then last is about the government's responsibility of its steps and results. You should know that if any step that the government takes, it has to be with full consideration of its effects. Even a single mere budgetary clause that they are going to write down, they have to be aware of what its consequences are going to be. So the knowledge that they have and the information they have of the whole country and all, that demands responsibility, how they are going to use that. Then I think the abstract area of this, another area is the ethical responsibility of having knowledge, the ethical responsibility. It's not always about the degrees, it's not always about the what you learn from the classroom, but in a certain situation that you know something and you know that it is going to harm people, and you whistleblow. Basically, in this the concept is the whistleblowing concept. And in the first part, I have explained that responsibility of whistleblowing for public good. Recently, we saw the second largest healthcare fraud settlement of the Pfizer, 2.3 billion that happened, and that was obviously because of the whistleblowing, and they were actually doing some research and doing that was going to harm the masses. And then the largest healthcare fraud settlement, which was against the government, and which was government versus GlaxoSmithKline, and that was also resulted due to the whistleblowing people, and three people they were involved in that, which actually worked for GlaxoSmithKline, and they actually revealed that how GlaxoSmithKline is exploiting the resources that the government has been given at their disposal. That is how they find this responsibility, and they find this urge to do something regardless of the consequences, and that is the ethical responsibility of having knowledge. The second is the responsibility of hackers that get access to the information and they leak it to as a dark truth of superpowers. Most of the WikiLeaks resources, that if you know that they are hackers, their initial purpose is not to get the information that they want, but sometimes it's the case that they're hacking something, the paid job, and they get exposed to certain information if they don't reveal it. And that is where the ethical hacking comes into the play. And many nations and the countries hire these ethical hackers to reveal information of the dark secrets of any superpower in the world. And last is the responsibility of individuals who reveal secrets and evil schemes of powerful countries. And in that capacity, they are actually they are actually the citizens of that nation state, but they still go against them. And now this is a question, that is a question I will be leaving for you guys, that are they heroes? And that's the example of Snowden. He is a traitor to many and hero to many, right? So he actually revealed the biggest, I say the whistleblowing cases of I think for the modern human history, in 2013, I must say. And he leaked the NSA information, how NSA of America uses the information of the users, even the common users, and their information to channel or to use for narrative building. And that is what he exposed. And now he faced life threat, and that is why he fled from his country. So this is the question for you guys to answer, that is the ethical responsibility of having knowledge is so much that it requires action in that capacity, that that one must take, even with the consequences in his or her mind. Then I conclude it with a quotation. Sir, if you can scroll down. And the knowledge is not leaf notebooks of facts. Above all, it is a responsibility for the integrity of what we are, primarily of what we are as ethical creatures. And I like this quote. It's from Jacob Bronowski, his book, The Ascent of a Man. And he actually beautifully encapsulates what I think of knowledge, how implies responsibility. And that's it from my end. Over to you, sir.
Beautiful, Osama. Beautiful. Wonderful outline. And you won my heart by this last quotation by Jacob Bronowski, The Ascent of Man. One of my most favorite books, The Ascent of Man, most favorite books. ये बुक थी बेसिकली, अगर आपको याद हो, उसकी क्या बुक थी, ये डार्विन की बुक का क्या नाम है जिसमें उसने स्पीशीज का, द डिसेंट ऑफ मैन.
यस सर.
अब जरा देखिएगा कि ये बेसिकली है क्या, जेकब ब्रोनॉस्की करता क्या है, कि वो कहता है कि डार्विन ने ये कहा इट इज द डिसेंट ऑफ मैन, वेयर एज जेकब ब्रोनॉस्की उसका एंटीथेसिस देता है, और ये पूरी डार्विन की थ्योरी को उल्टा रहा है. डिसेंट ऑफ स्पीशीज नहीं है, द एसेंट ऑफ मैन है ये मैन का. और इस बुक में बड़ी 1976, मतलब आई गॉट दिस बुक इन समथिंग व्हेन आई वाज 17 or 18 years old, in 1978 or 79, और उस वक्त से मैं इसको हमेशा it stays with me. And that is why I believe in man's supremacy of brain, इस बुक की बेसिस पे कि ये वाहिद स्पीशीज है, like all other species on the earth, on the face of the earth, ये वाहिद स्पीशीज है जिसका ब्रेन इतना स्मार्ट है कि it outsmarted every other species. And although वही मसला कि knowledge brings power and power sometimes is misused, जो कि हमने मिसयूज करके क्लाइमेट चेंज के जरिए अब पूरी सारी प्लेनेट को खतरे में डाल दिया. बट फिर वही बात कि ये इसी पावर ऑफ ब्रेन के थ्रू इंसान इस इतनी बड़ी मैनेस को, इतने बड़ी जो कैटास्ट्रोफी है ये वाली क्लाइमेट चेंज, इसको ओवरकम भी कर लेगा. तो स्टूडेंट्स, मेरी तरफ से अगर आप वन बुक, जो अक्सर लोग कहते हैं कि सर कोई ऐसी किताब बताएं कि जिसके जरिए जहन खुले, दिस इज द बुक. ट्राई टू गेट इट, द असेंट ऑफ मैन. ओके, द रेस्ट ऑफ द आउटलाइन जहां तक मैं उसको करूंगा evaluate इस आउटलाइन को, यू यूज द फायर अप्रोच वेरी वेल. मेरी जो मेथड है इसको स्टूडेंट्स को अब ये भी मौका मिलेगा आज देखने का कि फायर अप्रोच जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट एसे के लिए मैं लॉजिकल सीक्वेंसिंग के लिए पढ़ाता हूँ, it has been wonderfully used here and put into practice. First of all, there is the first number 3 जो आपको नजर आ रहा है, individual, family, society, and then politics, and then ethical responsibility of having knowledge. Beautifully done. किस तरह से individual से हो के you have moved on to the whole of the of humanity and the world. So एक तो इसके अंदर progression जो है वो thought की intellectually बहुत अच्छा उसको जो तुमने है build up किया है. और अब ये लोग जो कहते हैं जी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे में तो शायरी की बातें होती हैं और लिटरेरी ऐसे होती है, ये देखो ना जरा ये किस तरफ से लिटरेरी है. ये वही बात कि एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे नीड्स दैट नॉलेज, दैट रेंज ऑफ ऑफ नॉलेज जो आपके पास होनी चाहिए। कौन कह सकता है कि जी ये लिटरेचर का सिर्फ, या सिर्फ लिटरेचर के लोग इसको कर सकते हैं, या जैसे लोग कहते हैं, कल भी जैसे मैं पढ़ा रहा था, तो नहीं जी ये फिलोसॉफिकल ऐसे। अच्छा 10 भाई यहाँ पे कहाँ फिलोसॉफी है? दिस इज ऑल बेस्ड ऑन फैक्ट्स. It's only how you arrange your thoughts. Yes, Rabia, I agree with you that everyone can do the abstract essay. जरा उस खौफ से निकले ना जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे ना समझने वाले लोगों ने फैला दिया हुआ है कि जी एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे तो होती है, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है, उसका उसका क्या करना? दीज आर दी essays which go high in CSS. और इसकी एक खास एक जाहिर है कि ये टॉपिक बताते खुद नॉलेज इंप्लाइज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, इसने इस तरीके से किया है। नेक्स्ट प्रेजेंटर मरियम जावेद, यू विल सी, is presenting it entirely different from an entirely different perspective. And I like this thing कि तुमने नॉलेज को रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के एंड जो किया वो स्नाउडन के ऊपर किया कि ये लोग खामोश क्यों नहीं थे बैठ सकते। मेरा कल भी इसके ऊपर यही डिस्कशन हो रही थी स्टूडेंट्स के साथ कि why didn't Snowden just sit quiet with that? क्यों नहीं? उसको जब पता था कि जो चीज वो लीक कर रहा है इसके साथ सुपर पावर्स इसकी जान के पीछे पड़ जाएंगी, and they did, then why did he do it? Once I know something, it is my responsibility. Sometimes people ask me, सर ये इतना लंबा चौड़ा आपको क्या जरूरत पड़ी हुई है अपना आराम कुर्बान करने की, और ये आप इसको मिलता क्या है आपको इन ये सारी जो ऐसे डिस्कशन फोरम, आप मीटिंग्स भी करते हैं, लोगों को लगाए भी रखते हैं, इतनी ज्यादा एफर्ट्स इसके अंदर लगा रहे हैं, और फ्री में आपने यूट्यूब पे वीडियोस भी डाली हुई, सारा कुछ, व्हाट डू यू गेट आउट ऑफ दैट? स्टूडेंट्स, वेरी सिंपल थिंग, हर दुनिया में हर चीज एक्सचेंज के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ना देखो कि मैं क्या करूंगा तो उससे मुझे क्या मिलेगा। आर वी एनिमल्स कि हम सिर्फ वही चीज करेंगे जिसका हमें को फायदा होगा? ह्यूमन बीइंग्स अल्लाह ताला ने इस मकसद के लिए पैदा नहीं थे किए। ह्यूमन बीइंग्स इसलिए पैदा किए थे कि ये ट्रूथ को सर्व करेंगे और सेल्फलेसली करेंगे। दिस इज माय मैसेज। चनाची, हम इतने गरीब नहीं हैं कि हम एक एक लफ्ज जो है वो यूट्यूब पर डालेंगे तो उससे भी पैसा कमाने की कोशिश करेंगे। अल्लाह ताला हमें इतना गरीब ना करे। अंडरस्टैंड योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। अब यहाँ पे तुम सब लोग जो मेरे सामने यहाँ भी बैठे हुए और जो लोग यूट्यूब पे इस वक्त देख भी रहे हैं, इसको सुन भी रहे हैं, यू आर एजुकेटेड पीपल। इट इज योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टूवर्ड्स पाकिस्तान, टूवर्ड्स योर फैमिली, टूवर्ड्स योर सोसाइटी। और आप इसको अगर बैठे रहेंगे सिर्फ खुदगर्ज होके और निजी मैंने जो कुछ करना है अपने लिए ही करना है, तो फिर क्यों गिला करते हैं कि इस मुल्क का ये हाल क्यों है? We move on to the next outline with this. Thank you very much, Osama Sabir, for your effort and for your research.
जज़ाकल्लाह सर।
ठीक है।
So next outline on the screen is by Mariam Javed on the topic knowledge implies responsibility. Mariam, Bismillah.
Okay. Just give me a minute. Today, I'm going to present a topic called knowledge implies responsibility. We all know that it's an abstract topic, and I'm going to start with T.S. Eliot's very famous poetry, and it's such a irony that T.S. Eliot published this poetry a century back, और आज भी हम जब इसे देखते हैं पोइट्री को, the words and the meaning, everything stays still, it applies. After such knowledge, what forgiveness? Think now, history has many cunning passages, contrived corridors, and issues deceived with whispering ambitions, guides us by vanities. This is so relatable still in the world, how our world is actually किस तरह से मैनिपुलेट हो रही है, किस तरह से डिसीविंग ambitions जो हैं and all that. Let's move to the actual outline now. I have introduced topic, and after that we have crunch paragraph जिसमें हम डिस्कस करेंगे कि what is knowledge and how does it knowledge employ responsibility. So knowledge gives us ability to make informed decisions, to take actions. Knowledge जिसके पास होता है, he has a responsibility to make informed decisions and take actions जो कि हमारे around the world would have some impact. would have some impact. आपके पास किसी भी knowledge के किसी भी particular topic या किसी भी skill के बारे में knowledge है, तो you must have a sense of responsibility to use that knowledge in a way that it benefits others or contributes to a common good. मैंने इस topic को 3 parts में divide किया है. Again I have applied the same fire का जो हमारा वो है method have. I have applied that method. I have distributed this in on 3 levels: individual level, and then societal or national level, and उसके बाद हमारा global level पे I have divided this topic. I will start with my first point: knowledge, responsibility to share knowledge. Responsibility, if someone has knowledge about anything, about any particular issue or about any particular field, so it is his responsibility to share that knowledge, educate others about important issues, encourage them to get involved. आपने basically जो हमारे जो knowledge है उसे share करना है. That's first responsibility that every individual has. That knowledge can be shared on social media, that knowledge can be shared in classes, that knowledge can be shared in discussions and debates. आप presentations दे सकते हैं. The motive is you have to share the knowledge. My second point is obligation to use knowledge to improve one's living standard. People normally think that if someone is knowledgeable, and if someone is educated, then he should focus on sharing knowledge only, not on improving his lifestyle. So I feel that if you have knowledge, your first priority should be providing for your family and making your life better. My third point is responsibility to use that knowledge to make life around you better. So we have the point that there are so many organizations that are working for towards social causes like homelessness, poverty, environmental protection. We can advocate for those policies, legislation के लिए advocate कर सकते हैं. हमारे social issues जो हैं उनके लिए advocate कर सकते हैं. Equality and justice को promote कर सकते हैं. तो as an individual, what we can do is we can volunteer and donate time towards these things. Obviously we cannot do big steps. हम लोग organizations की तरह बहुत बड़े बड़े काम नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन what we can do is volunteer and donate our time to do something good for other people. My fourth point is responsibility to share knowledge about a profession or skill. If you are a teacher, share your knowledge to your students. If you are a professional, share your knowledge to subordinates. Whatever knowledge you have, it is your responsibility to give that knowledge away. Give that knowledge away so people can learn and people can still make that organization better or world better place to live. इसमें हमारे पास ट्रांसफर ऑफ नॉलेज में मेंटरशिप आ जाती है. वी हैव ट्रेनिंग, वी हैव नॉलेज शेयरिंग, ऑन द जॉब लर्निंग एंड ऑल दीज पॉइंट्स. देन हमारे पास जो लास्ट पॉइंट है फर्स्ट का, सेकंड लास्ट पॉइंट, द चैलेंज और कंपल्शन ऑफ अ लर्नड इंडिविजुअल. अब इसमें अगर हम इंडिविजुअल की उस पे बात करते हैं, पॉइंट पे बात करते हैं, तो वी हैव सम एग्जांपल. इफ समवन if there is a doctor who knows about genetic disposition of a child, I'm just giving an example, then it's his responsibility or it's his compulsion or challenge कि उसने वो information parents को reveal करनी है या नहीं करनी है. Or if you discover any murder scene or robbery scene, then you choose that whether you want to reveal that information or you want to keep it to yourself. So there is a challenge, obviously, that in what conditions you want to reveal that information and in what conditions there is a compulsion that you have to reveal that information. So in both the conditions, both the conditions I have discussed, in the case of murder scene or genetic disposition, doctor and that person has a compulsion to share that information with the जो आपके पास related people हैं उनके साथ आपको वो information share करनी है. You cannot think about the consequences and the emotions that people will go through or the consequences that you will have after sharing that information. My last point is obligation to increase knowledge. Our responsibility is to keep learning, to keep submissively following and to keep growing in our knowledge. So this is our last responsibility, that is towards ourselves and towards our society as an individual. Now we move on to the societal and national responsibility, that implies that we have to share that knowledge, or we have some responsibility towards our knowledge. My first point is realization to use knowledge to benefit a greater community. If you are group of people, if you are a nation, or if you are an organization which has knowledge about a particular issue, let's say we have knowledge about climate change. It started, let's say US had knowledge about environmental issues that were going to rise. So at that time Obama was the, I'm just giving you an example. That time, Obama was the leader of that country, and he chose to share that thing. He chose to raise voice against climate change. But in the same way, अगर हम next देखते हैं, तो हमारे पास डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प है, and उसने वो सारी चीजों को दोबारा से एक step back लिया, and पूरी दुनिया को एक greater good से contain कर लिया. सो रियलाइजेशन टू यूज दैट नॉलेज, जो हमारी नेशंस के पास नॉलेज होता है या हमारे ग्रुप ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स या ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के पास नॉलेज होता है, उसे हम किस तरह से यूज कर सकते हैं टू बेनिफिट ग्रेटर कम्युनिटी. सेकंड जो है, इम्पल्स टू यूज नॉलेज टू एड्रेस कम्युनिटी वाइड प्रॉब्लम्स. हमारे पास जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, पॉवर्टी इज अ प्रॉब्लम, वी हैव प्रॉब्लम ऑफ एजुकेशन, वी हैव प्रॉब्लम ऑफ हमारे जेनोसाइड्स की प्रॉब्लम्स थी जो हमने लास्ट ऐसे में भी डिस्कस की थी, वी हैव वॉरफेयर इश्यूज. So nations who have capacity to deal with these issues must deal with these issues. They have knowledge and they have capacity to address that community wide problem. यहाँ पे हम address करने की just बात कर रहे हैं. We are not talking about taking those steps to make changes. We are just talking about addressing that problem. देन हमारे पास जो थर्ड पॉइंट है वो एक इंस्टीट्यूट का है, मीडियाज कॉन्शियसनेस टू एनलाइटन सोसाइटी अबाउट करंट नॉलेज. हमारे पास मीडिया की जो एक कॉन्शियसनेस या एक कंपल्शन है या उनके पास एक ड्यूटी है टू शेयर द नॉलेज दे हैव. फॉर एग्जांपल हमारे पास फॉर एग्जांपल इफ दे गेट सम इंफॉर्मेशन, दे हैव टू थिंक दैट हम लोगों ने उस इंफॉर्मेशन को सेंशलाइज करना है, एग्जॉजरेट करना है, या हमने उस इशू को के थ्रू लोगों की अटेंशन लेनी है ताकि वो इशू सॉल्व हो सके. एंड अनफॉर्चुनेटली और मीडिया इज जस्ट सेंसेशनलाइज करता है चीजों को, एग्जॉजरेट करता है. जस्ट डिस्कशन फॉर डिस्कशन हो रही होती है. दे आर नॉट फुलफिलिंग द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू एक्चुअली सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम दैट इज कमिंग इन द वर्ल्ड. जो मेरे पास फोर्थ पॉइंट है उसमें है कि ऑब्लिगेशन फॉर इंस्टीट्यूट्स टू मेक डिसीजंस विच इंफॉर्मेशन टू शेयर. हमारे पास जो अभी रिसेंट एक इन्फॉर्मेशन आई थी, हमारे पास पीटीआई की कुछ वीडियो, एक सीनियर उनके थे लीडर, उनकी एक वीडियो जो है वो लीक हो गई थी. तो whoever whichever institute got that video, it was unethical कि आप वो वीडियो को लीक करें. इन द सेम वे आपके पास बहुत सारी ऐसी इंफॉर्मेशन आती हैं जहाँ पे हमारे पास पनामा लीक्स की हैं, विकी लीक्स की हैं. ऑब्वियसली जैसे सर ने कहा कि जब आपके पास ऐसी हैकर्स इन चीजों पे काम करते हैं और आपके पास ऐसी इंफॉर्मेशन आती है, तो आपके पास एक कंपल्शन होती है कि यू हैव टू शेयर दैट, बिकॉज यू आर शेयरिंग दैट इंफॉर्मेशन टू डू अ ग्रेटर गुड फॉर नेशंस और फॉर द वर्ल्ड. तो आपके पास एक कंपल्शन आती है, रादर के उसकी क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस होंगे, उन सारे कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस को आप साइडलाइन करके जब वो इंफॉर्मेशन को शेयर करते हैं, तो दैट शेयरिंग इंफॉर्मेशन इज योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. हमारे पास जो लास्ट पॉइंट है दैट इज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू यूज नॉलेज टू डिफेंड नेशन. आपकी जो अपनी नेशन है उसकी को डिफेंड करने के लिए आप नॉलेज को यूज करें. Now we know that 5G warfare जो है that is the current thing that is happening around the world. We know that AI based warfare जो है that is happening around the world, and people are और countries जो है वो अपने आप को equip कर रहे हैं इस warfare से deal करने के लिए. And अगर हम पाकिस्तान के इसमें example लें तो we do not see a lot of things happening in Pakistan to deal with 5G warfare या to deal with AI based warfare. हमारे पास जो AI बेस्ड वॉरफेयर है उसमें हमारे पास जो रिसेंट हमारी नेशनल सिक्योरिटी पॉलिसी आई थी उसमें भी कहीं पे भी इन चीजों को मेंशन नहीं किया गया, नीदर 5G वॉरफेयर एंड नॉर AI बेस्ड वॉरफेयर। तो दैट इज समथिंग दैट इट इज अ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि अगर आपको पता है दैट थिंग इज हैपनिंग एंड दैट थिंग कैन हार्म यू इन ऑन द लॉन्गर रन एज अ नेशन, तो यू मस्ट स्टार्ट वर्किंग टूवर्ड्स इट। मेरे पास जो लास्ट मेरा पॉइंट है दैट इज नॉलेज इम्प्लॉयज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ग्लोबली। तो फर्स्ट पॉइंट मेरे पास इसमें है शेयरिंग टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स अमंग नेशंस। आपके पास जो टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स हैं जो कि डिफरेंट नेशंस को हेल्प कर सकती हैं टू ग्रो and to improve their living standards, to increase their access in education and healthcare, you must share those technological advancements amongst nations. इसमें हमारे पास जो recent example आ जाती है वो clean and green energy की है। हमारा जो हम जो मूव कर रहे हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से फ्रॉम हमारी वो थर्मल एनर्जी से जो हम ग्रीन एंड क्लीन एनर्जी की तरफ मूव कर रहे हैं, दैट इज वन ऑफ द पॉइंट जो कि विच इज बीइंग शेयर्ड, यू नो, बिकॉज हम लोग उसे एक ग्लोबल लेवल पे काम कर रहे हैं तो इट इज बीइंग शेयर्ड। सेकेंड जो मेरे पास पॉइंट है वो ये है कि हमारे पास ग्लोबल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ रेजिंग अवेयरनेस एंड एजुकेटिंग पीपल। तो इसके लिए भी हमारे पास जो यूनेस्को है, हमारी जो यूनाइटेड नेशंस है, दैट इज वर्किंग टूवर्ड्स इट। आपके पास चाइना की नेशन बिल्डिंग का एक एग्जांपल आ जाता है, यूनेस्को का एक एग्जांपल आ जाता है। इसमें बेसिकली इंस्टीट्यूट्स एंड ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ग्लोबली हैव टू वर्क टूवर्ड्स empowering individuals and communities to take actions and make a positive impact. So we know that UNESCO last time भी बात हुई थी कि UN maybe as an institute is lacking, लेकिन जो उसके माइक्रो इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं जैसे यूनेस्को है तो वो बड़ी एफिशिएंटली वर्क कर रहा है, वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को फुलफिल कर रहा है अराउंड द वर्ल्ड। हमारे पास जो थर्ड पॉइंट है वो है कि knowledge implies global duty towards just and sustainable world। तो हमारे पास जो ग्लोबली पॉवर्टी, इनइक्वालिटी, इन्वायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन है, अगर हमारे पास नॉलेज है तो इट इज अवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू डू दैट, नॉट ओनली ऑन द ग्लोबल लेवल, ऑल्सो ऑन इन इंडिविजुअल लेवल एंड सोसाइटल लेवल। वी हैव टू सी कि वी हैव नॉलेज अबाउट इट। वी नो दैट हम लोगों ने कार्बन फ्री फुटप्रिंट्स को वी आर गोइंग टू लीव नो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट्स। तो how as an individual we can do it, how as a society we can do it, how as a world we can do it। तो that we have to see। same with poverty। आप organizations जो हैं यूनेस्को में सॉरी यूएन में हमारे पास एक इंस्टीट्यूट है जो डील करता है पॉवर्टी को एरेडिकेट करने के लिए। तो वी हैव टू डील विद दीज इंस्टीट्यूट ताकि हम लोग जस्ट एंड सस्टेनेबल वर्ल्ड की तरफ मूव कर सके। मेरे पास जो फोर्थ पॉइंट है वो है कि हमारे पास जो ग्लोबल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है वो किस तरह से नॉलेज को यूज करती है कॉमन गुड करने के लिए। तो हम लोग रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं टू डू कॉमन गुड जो कि ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस को एड्रेस करेगा। हमारे पास डिफरेंट बिजनेस प्रैक्टिसेस हैं जिसकी वजह से हमारे नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स ऑन एनवायरनमेंट एंड सोसाइटी को हम डील कर सकते हैं। देन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो हैं वो उनकी नॉलेज एंड रिसोर्सेज को यूज करके एंड कोलैबोरेट करके अदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ किस तरह से ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस को डील कर सकता है। हमारे पास जो लास्ट पॉइंट अगेन वही बात है कि जैसे पनामा लीक्स लीक हुई, जैसे विकी लीक्स लीक हुई, तो ऑब्लिगेशन ऑन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इज देयर स्टिल कि हम लोग फर्दर भी इस पे काम करें ताकि हम एक कॉमन गुड की तरफ वर्ल्ड को लेके जा सके। हमारे पास जो लास्ट पॉइंट है दैट इज नॉलेज इम्प्लाइज ग्लोबल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ इकोनॉमिक लिबरेशन। आपने किस तरह से नॉलेज को यूज करके, स्किल्स को यूज करके, रिसोर्सेज को यूज करके इकोनॉमिक लिबरेशंस अमंगस्ट नेशंस को प्रमोट करना है, दैट इज आल्सो योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑन द ग्लोबल लेवल। ठीक है, तो दिस इज हाउ आई हैव प्रेजेंटेड माय टॉपिक and at the end I will conclude that knowledge is responsibility, knowledge is power, and power brings a great responsibility.
Thank you very much, Mariam. Thank you. It's a wonderful outline. एक जरा थोड़ा सा मैं यहाँ पे ऐड करना चाहूंगा। एक साइंस के स्टूडेंट ने टीएस एलियट जिस तरह से पढ़ा है थोड़ा सा जरा उसके ऊपर बात कर लूं, फिर उसके बाद मैं बाकी चीजों पे आता हूँ। आफ्टर सच नॉलेज, टीएस एलियट की जो लाइन है, What forgiveness? Think now how history, think now. स्टार्ट में उसने जो इम्प्लाई कर दिया है ना, ये आपके ऊपर जो ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दे दी है, थिंक नाउ, ये बोला वो चीज है जो कि मैं सबसे ज्यादा जो है इसके ऊपर जो एम्फसाइज किया करता हूँ. आफ्टर सच नॉलेज व्हाट फॉरगिवनेस, थिंक नाउ. हिस्ट्री हैज many cunning passages, contrived corridors, and issues, deceives with whispering ambitions, guides us by vanities. And the poem continues, each and every line so passionate. Here,
I
students,
could not explain that poetry properly.
Of course.
लेकिन the thing is I was too overwhelmed with it.
Yeah.
Because जब मैंने उसे वो पार्स करके मैंने उसे स्टडी किया ना, I realized that एक सेंचुरी पहले भी realities were same and after a century realities are still same. World is moving on the same parameters.
यही यूनिवर्सैलिटी है लिटरेचर की, यही मजेदार चीज है. शेक्सपियर जैसे पढ़े, चौसर जैसे पढ़े 400 साल पहले, 600 साल पहले, स्टिल वैलिड according to the human nature. Now students, one of the most important things about this outline is that किस तरह से साइंस के थ्रू इसने इस टॉपिक को सारा जो है वो प्रेजेंट किया है आपके सामने. थोड़ा सा जानने की वजह से that she is an MPhil in computer science. She is Mariam Javed is a lecturer in computer science also. तो अब आप कैसे कह सकते हैं कि ये जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट टॉपिक्स हैं ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ जो है वो लिटरेरी लोग ही कर सकते हैं? आप जरा स्कोप का अंदाजा लगाएं कि कितना खूबसूरती से एक साइंस स्टूडेंट भी इसको जो है वो प्रेजेंट करता है, एक IR का स्टूडेंट जो है उसको किस तरीके से उसको टेकअप करता है इन चीजों को. मैं अक्सर औकात कहा करता हूं कि जो इसके ऊपर जो एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे जो है इसके बारे में जो आप मशहूर कर दिया गया है स्टूडेंट्स, दैट इज ऑल अ मिथ. आज इसको शामिल करने का मेरा मकसद ही ये था ऐसे डिस्कशन फोरम में कि ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द ब्यूटी ऑफ द एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे, यूटिलिटी, द रेंज. और बहुत से लोग जो इसको आज देखेंगे इस मीटिंग को और इन आउटलाइंस को देखेंगे, दे विल रियलाइज कि एवरीबॉडी कैन डू इट, प्रोवाइडेड कि आप एक दफा अपने दिमाग से इस कम से कम फियर को उतारें कि ये एब्स्ट्रैक्ट ऐसे में नहीं जाना. If I can guide you step by step in other steps of essay writing and you have seen success also, then come in the domain of abstract essay also. We have seen two of the very good outlines and let's hope that they can develop them into good essays also. And this I'm saying as an examiner now, not just as a person presenting them, but as an examiner now. Thank you very much, Mariam Javed and Osama Sabir. Mariam, you can see in the chat a lot of appreciation coming your way, and Osama's also. और मेरा ख्याल है कि डेफिनेटली इन दोनों आउटलाइंस ने और आज की इस एब्स्ट्रैक्ट एसे की डिस्कशन ने आपके माइंड के डिफरेंट डायमेंशंस आपकी उसको जो है वो एक्सप्लोर करने की मदद की होगी और काफी सारी परतें जो हैं सोच की वो खोली होंगी. I will end this meeting here. The abstract meeting, और आज हमने इससे पहले एक argumentative की मीटिंग जो है वो भी रिकॉर्ड की है. Thank you very much for the efforts put in by all the presenters. Thank you.